Good evening and welcome to the October 16th, 2019 regularly scheduled East Long Meadow Board of Library Trustees meeting. It is now 6:05 and I'm calling this meeting to order. Starting on my left, we will start our roll call of attendance. Melanie, please.
Melanie Nealon.
Gordon Smith from the school system.
Kendra Levesque.
Diane Tiago.
David Boucher.
Cindy McNutt.
Layla Johnston.
This meeting is being audio and videotaped for future broadcast on LCAT. And our first order of business, well, I was wondering if the board wouldn't mind if we moved an item so that our guests could have the first opportunity to,
Sure.
So if that's okay with everybody?
Yep.
All right. Mr. Smith, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity to be with all of you. We're in exciting times. Well, every year is exciting to me in the schools, but this year we made something happen with a tremendous amount of help from so many departments and so many people. It'd be most of my presentation would be thank yous. So, but I'll kind of pull you into the history. This year we were able to achieve finally getting Chromebooks into our students' hands 2nd grade through 12th grade, with grades 6 through 12 able to actually take them home. And I'll open this up and show you some of those things after I just take you through a little bit of history. Any questions before I move in? Okay. So I'm just going to slide back just a little bit. All of this really starts with our SMART goals, and this is our most current version, but as you look at our SMART goals, over on the side, on the right side there, where you're looking at instructional practice and you're looking at continuous learning and achievement, we always, over the last probably 6-7 years, have had some type of goal. It may get tweaked each year a little bit, but it's talking about how we want to make sure that we're bringing in innovative and 21st century learning experiences to our students. And immediately, or maybe not immediately, but my brain always took that to technology first. But as you really break it down, it's not necessarily technology. All of this really is a tool, and it's about building the skills of communication, collaboration, problem solving, being able to work as a team problem solving, critical thinking, and so forth. That's really what, as we start to look at what we're doing in classrooms, we want to provide those opportunities using our curriculum as the vehicle to provide those opportunities to develop the skills. So with that, we started looking at, how do we go from
That was
what,
mine.
sort of the traditional setting in a classroom, and I have to say, sadly, although it might not be as neat as these rows, we're still in this mode, many days, in many classrooms. But the nice thing is, I think people are feeling much more comfortable that they don't have to stay here, even if they're there for a few days. They see they've come up with a lesson that can is aided or assisted by breaking up the room differently and coming up with some other format to help students work with each other, work with the teacher, engage with their hands, whatever it may be. And so we really, apologize for my movement with the chair there, have started to open this up and this type of thinking. And this didn't happen overnight. This is years in the process of just giving people new ideas, discussing them, having people come back from workshops. So this here is students working in our makerspace. This here is students working with a 3D printer. Here is some really more comfortable class. We don't have that in all classrooms, but a comfortable setting where students are doing some independent work, but in a much more relaxing way. And so we're really looking at what kind of furniture we're buying for classrooms, what actually is the goal and the purpose of some of our classrooms, and so different furniture may be in different classrooms. But whatever we're doing, we're trying to make sure that the classroom and the furniture is maximizing what we're trying to do in instruction and learning. These are just some other examples. This is a town meeting that a panel discussion that took place actually now I think 2 years ago, and you have students in the audience and you have local municipal representatives, school committee, town council, predominantly school committee and town council. I think we have State Senator Lesser there in the middle, and students were asking questions and so forth. And actually it was really well done. Here you have students using the virtual goggles, where they can go, you can do so many things with that, but they can literally go on a field trip while they're just sitting in this room. Go tour, Philadelphia, see the Liberty Bell, tour some sites if you're thinking in terms of geography.
Is that like an upgrade of the Viewmaster?
Yes.
Only
Yeah.
fast forward.
Fast forward.
Just a slight upgrade. It's really neat. This here, it was another one. It actually may be connected to this panel here. And then this is just another look at how we're breaking out furniture. You can see those desks fit together. You can break those apart and set them up differently. But that way, groups can sit together. They're using technology. In this case, it looks like they're starting off with something that's being presented to the entire class, and then they may break into group work or teamwork. So as we've been looking at this and introducing other tools into the setting, the instructional setting, we've also sort of behind the scenes been doing the research of how do we possibly get to this sort of plateau, if you will, or achievement of providing a computer for every student where they can take it to and from school. Just to give you an idea of some of the things that have taken place as we built towards what we were able to achieve finally this year. So we're looking and providing professional development around how in your content area, in your lesson plans, can you build in situations where students can work together to problem solve? How can you sort of move away from the technique of sort of the sage on the stage, giving all the information, to having students get into more inquiry-based instruction and lessons where the students are taking the sort of the center stage, if you will. One of the things the last few years, and certainly this year, if you remember the goals on that first slide where we're talking about supporting the whole child, as we do this, we also want to make sure that we're building social competencies. Some of that, obviously, if you start to touch on it very overtly and you're utilizing cooperative learning or team group learning, you can talk about just some of the things that they're developing and being able to do that well. You know, what does a team that's actually operating well together, what are the characteristics of that? And you know, it's somewhat, I'm oversimplifying it, but so almost every day you can give students in your class the opportunity to start to build social competencies. As we've done that over time, we are utilizing, you saw some of the technology that we were utilizing, but we also, well before we got to this year, we achieved one-to-one for our students in grades 2 through 12. We provided our students with East Longmeadow email accounts, which basically opened up the Google Suite through the public schools. So they had not only an East Longmeadow email account, but they basically had a Google account that they're logging into. And so teachers, even before we got to the situation where they're going back and forth from school with a computer, they could still start to use Google Docs and collaborate and share Google Slides. This is a Google Slide presentation. And if I were working with all of you, I could share it. Mr. Mackey actually said before the meeting, if I share this with him, right, I don't even have to send it to him anymore now. I can just share it, and so he has access.
That's awesome.
He can go in there and make it so much better than it already is right now. And so as we started to do that, Google is obviously trying to keep pace with all this and help support. They started developing what they call the Google Classroom, and that provided even more opportunities for teachers to provide assignments, to post certain things, to provide, instead of always handing out the worksheet, they provide it through Google Classroom, and students then can retrieve it and start completing work through the Google Classroom when they log in. And then eventually, we started moving away from, we had a number of Macs and Mac Airs and Mac Pros on carts and so forth. And it's not so much that we just eliminated those, but we realized that if we were going to somehow get a situation that we're finally in today, where we're able to provide a Chromebook to every student, Macs still sort of economically priced us out of the market.
That's what happened.
It's an excellent machine. It's just not something that, as we started to put together budgets to look at this and say, okay, how do we do this on such a large scale as a school system? And Chromebooks started to become the answer. So as we were going through all of this, which I think really opened up how we were teaching and learning, we also were noticing the Chromebooks, that we were starting to purchase and put on carts and utilize just the way we've always utilized computers, where teachers are signing them out and using, that they were more durable than we had thought they might have been originally, and they certainly were priced better than some of the other computers on the market. As we started to get into this, we also got into you hear all the acronyms, whether it be STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math, or STEAM, and basically you're adding art and creativity into that. We started to look at how do we do more with this, and actually one of the pictures showed the makerspace, and we got into developing makerspaces where you're putting a lot of material and possibly tools, and one of the pictures you saw some 3D printers that students can use and really get into some type of hands-on lesson or project, but that also takes professional development in terms of getting teachers to understand, how might I utilize this? I teach English or I teach social studies, but it also lent itself to crossing over between disciplines, which the middle school model sort of has always promoted that.
Yeah.
And so Makerspace took off first and foremost probably in our middle school, and then has somewhat migrated out to our other schools, which is pretty neat. Robotics has been a strong point at our high school for a long, long time, but now it's something that has reached all the way down to our youngest school at Meadowbrook, where they're starting to learn through just basic games, board games. So not even if we're thinking, okay, when we think of 21st century skills, if you remember I said my mind, and I think a lot of people's minds always go to technology. These are actually board games that start to teach students as early as kindergarten and first grade just the idea of computer programming. How do you set these pieces up to achieve something in the game? And those are the basic concepts for computer programming. And then as they go up in grade level, that becomes increasingly more comprehensive, if you will. Project Lead the Way is actually a grant that helps schools, that was a competitive grant that helps schools start to put all of these type of things in place. But definitely targets the engineering piece at the high school level. And our elementary school, Maple Shade Elementary, was able to achieve getting this grant, and East Long Meadow High School was able to achieve getting this grant. And so we have some professional development that's gone along with that, and we've revamped some of the science work that we're doing with students at the elementary level, and at the high school level. We also have the professional development, but we're starting to add courses, one of them being introduction to engineering. And then we'll add other courses to that. And the grant gives us the professional development and some money for equipment and so forth. Interestingly enough, when you get into sort of this high level, that calls for stronger computers than the ones that we were planning to hand out one-to-one. So for the engineering course and the robotics courses, we've actually ordered computers that can handle different things. And so as we think about this, we never want to get away.
Are those going to be Mac-based, or are they going to be?
Those are actually PCs.
Okay,
Yeah.
regular PCs.
Regular PCs. They're just loaded with more software and are capable of handling. This is where my technology gets stretched, or my understanding gets stretched. Just capable of handling this kind of usage in engineering. So as we were doing all of that, we were also at the high school level. The high school had this great idea of offering a different course called Community Action Learning, where students were engaging, and actually Mr. Mackey's has done a lot of work, at least in the first year, and maybe in the second year as well, with this course, trying to develop it and get it into a situation where students are really looking at it could be global issues, but how do you break it down and see if it's impacting sort of the local area, and then even more specifically the town of East Long Meadow. And there are ways we can get involved and start to help and solve this and engage with the community. And as we were developing that course, one of the things we started to think about, because we were doing the work to try to get to a sustainable situation where we can start to offer students computers to take home, we bought Chromebooks for the 2 sections in the first year of this Community Action Learning course. And they were our first group. It was the first parent group I met with. They were the first group to sign off on an agreement of how they're going to protect this valuable piece of equipment that they were getting. And not only did that course take off, but we started to see that we were seeing very little damage. We were seeing good use of the computer, and so it gave us some really positive information to continue going forward and start presenting to different groups, notably school committee, town manager, town finance director, and then town council, to make sure that people are on board in terms of what this may cost after you do your purchasing. It drops down quite a bit, but there's going to be a cost each year because you're going to be renewing machines. Please stop me if people have questions.
I have a question.
Okay.
So are the Chromebooks, are they assigned to like a student, but they carry through the years with the same student?
Yes, that's actually, initially we weren't thinking that, but that's a great question. But as we distributed this year, so they all have serial numbers on them, which we scan, and so it's assigned to a student. And yes, they're actually going to keep them for at least 4 years. So what will be interesting is what we do when, say, our 6th graders get to the high school and their machines are ready for renewal. And so we'll have to be, we will have to have a system to take those back and then start to give them newer machines as we continue to replenish. But the initial thought, as we were setting all this up, because a lot of systems have done it this way, they're going to collect them all back in the summer, do a certain amount of maintenance, and then distribute them all again the next school year. As we were going through and gearing up for distribution, we realized that's a ton of work that has to happen, both at the beginning of the year and the end of the year. And we weren't sure that the maintenance we were going to need to do is going to be so substantial that we should be collecting them every year.
Yeah.
So if a student has a problem with their particular Chromebook or whatever glitch they're having, then they just tell the teacher that, and then.
So they can tell the teacher. The teacher can put in a work order, and then our IT department will help them out. At the high school, they've also trained students, and so they have a help desk. Actually, Mr. Quimby was reporting today in the town department head meeting that the students have become so proficient that one of the things that have happened this year is people have closed this on like a pen or something that caught, and so the screen is cracked. But we've been able to replace that, and the students have been able to replace most of them. So we're not, we knew that there was incredible demand on our IT department to get this out and going. But at the high school, our students have really been a great resource. And so they've been helping quite a bit.
And so like, if Adobe needs an update or something like that happens, the students themselves update that?
No, so a lot of that can get pushed out through the IT department in terms of updating. Because remember, this is a Google operating system.
That's right.
Yeah, so they put a lot on here where
and
they
they'll have
can.
Like parental controls or.
There are a certain amount of controls, yeah, actually.
And that's
quite
the
a lot.
IT department's controlling this.
The IT department, so they took what say was our firewall and our protection, and it goes even further now because it's at the computer level.
I got it.
So it's not just in network.
That's
when they
great.
go home, they have those same protections on there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, it's really working out with it. I started, I think, in first grade. I forget. And they started, like you said, with the Mac-based, and they switched out to the Chromebooks as well.
And it'll be interesting to see what Mac does with that. I mean, there's still a lot of things. There's certain things that this machine can't do.
Yeah.
That the Mac Airs and the Mac Pros. So at the middle and the high school, we still have Mac carts. We have fewer at the elementary level because we think we can accomplish most things with the Chromebook. But the idea is not so much the exact machine, it's what is the right tool for the task you're undertaking. And so that's something that we also have to be teaching students. And so as we've done all this work over the last 6 years, and it really was a cumulative effort between the schools and the IT department. I mean, it started out 6 years ago. We were going out to visit, say, the Natick Public Schools because they had a pretty robust one-to-one program, both at the middle and high school. And we looked at how they were using it and what they were doing. And there were a lot of different models. We went to the Gateway Regional Public School District and just looked at this over the last 6 years, how they were setting all this up. During that time, as we were doing this work, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education moved out new digital literacy and computer science standards that now span kindergarten to 12th grade. So all districts know that somehow we have to figure out how within our different content areas we're also giving students the opportunity to master these standards. And then during that time, as that community action learning course was coming online, we were increasing the amount of machines that we were buying for students and for schools. We were starting to decrease the amount of, say, Macs we were buying, and we were increasing the Chromebooks. That was just to continue to build our inventory. There was also the fact that the state assessment system was going to fully be online and is now fully online. And we were not a district that was going to get a lot of assistance from the state to help make that happen in terms of making sure that we could take the state assessment online. So we knew we had to start planning and purchasing early. Last 2 years, we've worked very closely, I had said earlier, with our school committee, town manager, town finance director, and the town council, and we gave them looks at different budgets and how we thought we could sustain this. Once we got over, and last year was the big year, once we got over the final round of purchasing, so we knew we had enough machines, and that amount of money had to come through the capital budget. So we had presented it a few different years, but last year it was approved, and so that allowed us to purchase over the summer and finish off the purchasing, so we had enough machines. And now, within the capital budget, a much lower number will just be there annually for renewal. So this summer, after we had the capital budget approved, we did a lot of purchasing, and we had to get these computers in. The IT department was getting them distributed out to the schools, and then within the first few weeks of September, we were actually distributing in grades 6 through 12 after doing a parent night at each school. This actually may have increased, but about a week ago we were up to 1,384 Chromebooks that we distributed. That doesn't represent all the students in grades 6 through 12 in terms of them taking it to take home. There are some students and families that have right now opted out. But I think over the last few weeks that number has increased because whatever their original reasons were, they've started to see, okay, this is working a little bit better than I thought, thankfully, knock on wood.
Yeah.
And so I think that number now has grown closer to 1,400. Now that in that number doesn't give you the enrollment of grades 2 through 5, because those are computers that we distributed, the IT department, we purchased and then they distributed to the classrooms themselves. And so each classroom has the number of Chromebooks needed for the students in that class, and then they have charging stations and so forth. So they're not taking them home, but they are learning how to take care of their Chromebook, you know, when they should go over and get it, when they should be charging it, how to do all of that. And I should just give a huge shout out to the IT department, because none of this would have happened without them. Not only were they with us 6 years ago in terms of researching it, but you know, making it happen this summer, that was, I know that was something that put a huge sort of stressor on the department, and we're incredibly thankful. And now we're incredibly thankful the library's helping us out with, and as I'm sure all of you know, with those mobile hotspots. Because one of the things we always have to think about is, okay, so students have access to being online when they're in network at our school buildings, and would have access at the library, but then they may not all have access at home.
A lot of them don't.
And so that's another way that they can get access to the internet if they don't have it at home. They can take it out. I think you're up to 6.
Yeah.
That's really exciting. Something that I also let the school committee know. And,
Great.
Yeah,
Great.
it's pretty neat. So I can add a line here. Huge thank you to the library. Questions?
I have to say that I'm a 4th grade teacher, and we do the take-home laptops starting in 4th grade at the school I'm at, and it teaches the students to use computers as tools and not toys. We don't just use computers for playing video games or things like that. But it also teaches them a huge responsibility, because if they don't bring their laptops into school, then they're missing out on so much that they would have to make up. So it's almost like if I came to work without my laptop, I would have to make up that work. So it's teaching them at a young age the responsibility of bringing tools to and from home, and making sure they're charged.
An awesome point, because there was something that our middle school principal mentioned at the information night. You know, if for whatever reason they forget to bring the Chromebook, don't come rushing in and bring it for them.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Exactly.
they'll be able to get through the day, and we'll figure that out.
Mhm.
You know, it might be bumpy, but that's just one of the lessons that, you know, we all have to learn, that you're going to show up at some point for work, and mom or dad's not going to be able to bring the tools you left behind,
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
which my own children have learned, who are now in jobs. And they've rushed home and gotten what they needed.
But I was noticing the different seating arrangements, you
Mhm.
know, and they had started that. I think my grandson was in 3rd grade, and there's a lot of kids with ADD and different learning styles,
Right.
and so they had the classroom set up with all these. One was a stand-up table,
Yeah.
and then they had lower ones and
Right.
and traditional ones, so it kind of fit a child's learning style.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
and they could kind of pick the one they wanted, and sometimes they picked one and decided, no, this one might be better,
Right.
and it cut down a lot on that fidgeting that some of them
It's
have to do.
really impressive. We've done a lot with that. I didn't have too many pictures of that
I
type
just
of
saw the
thing.
one with the nice.
With the bean bags.
If you had knees, you could get
Yeah,
down
sure.
and up. Yeah.
But if you were to travel across the district, you'll see classrooms with the standing desks. You'll see
Uh-huh.
classrooms with not so much the beanbag, but sort of like a bouncy ball.
Yeah, yeah.
Almost like
The
a
balance
exercise
ball.
ball.
Yeah.
And I've, having been away from direct teaching for a few years, I was curious to see, okay, how is this going to work?
That's what I wondered.
And it's pretty incredible.
It is.
The teachers have become incredibly adept at sort of managing it and making sure that it's, you know, sort of, this is an inclusive environment,
Mhm.
and, you know, we're not worried about where Gordon Smith's sitting, as long as he's focused and he's attentive, he's engaged. And students are pretty diplomatic, you
Mhm.
know, at least from the rooms that I've seen. They're not all rushing to go sit on that bouncy ball. They understand that, you know, some students, that's going to help them, keep them focused. But it's interesting, they did like to sort of take turns at the standing desk.
Right.
And I can understand that if you're sitting
Some can't
an
sit that.
inordinate
They
amount of
can't sit that
time,
long.
you can't do that.
Yeah.
Right? Sorry, I just lost the... Actually, that was the final slide. But I did want to just show you, so this is the Chromebook itself. I don't know if all of you can see that, but basically...
It's actually up on the screen now.
Oh, oh yeah, well that's the... But
Oh, that's your old
That's
one.
my computer.
That's your computer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But basically, any one of our
Yeah,
students, so I'm logged in there, but
Yeah.
if we wanted to switch user, any one of our students can log in because
Right.
they have an East Long Meadow account.
Ah.
And then they would come up to this sort of landing page, and then if you've worked with the Google Suite, and you go up here to what looks like a little matrix, I know you've seen it,
yeah.
it gives you all the different features, but one of the things that I had mentioned that our teachers are utilizing more and more is Google Classroom. And I'm not connected to many classrooms, but I am connected to the high school instructional technology specialist. And basically what he did as we were getting more and more into using technology and looking for innovative ways of supporting different things we were doing in the classroom, is he created a school-wide Google Classroom. And so his lessons are different ways to utilize technology, whether it be the virtual reality goggles that you saw up there, or certain applications in the Google Suite. Anything that he feels can help teachers do their job, and do it in a creative and engaging way. And then he'll also, if teachers request him to come in, he'll co-teach, he'll show them how to use something, he'll research for them. So it's a pretty cool role that he has in terms of supporting the teachers.
And the virtual reality goggles kind of got my
Yeah, me
curiosity.
too.
It is pretty neat.
So I'm sure that whatever software must be in those goggles, particular.
So different manufacturers make them.
Okay.
Google makes them. I think those are the ones we have. I'm trying to think of what the other one, but actually, Robert Charles Photography, his children, and I think a business partner, and he may be more of a silent partner, at Zemba.
Yeah.
They have another company, an innovative company that is dealing with products like this, which is pretty neat. That's actually where he had a demonstration one day, and he invited me, which was great, very nice of him. And it's interesting. They utilize what I was looking through in many of the stations. They utilize these for medical training. So I was in an ER, which only in virtual reality should I ever be a person who's running an ER. But I had to make certain calls in terms of what we were going to do. Yeah, exactly, with the patient.
Oh, jeez.
And it was interesting because it was very real. If I somehow, because I had the ability to move my hands and pick up instruments and so forth, ask for certain things. It was
And a scalpel.
But I didn't do very well, and sadly, I was very glad that it was virtual reality because I don't think my patient made it.
So the students,
My students are making it. I do a better job of that.
Well, that was my question. So are there certain programs? I'm not familiar with all these goggles. All I know is my granddaughter wanted me to try it, and I was on a roller coaster ride.
Oh.
So and that's what I'm trying to kind of put together in an educational atmosphere. Are the goggles like a
there's software built into it.
Yep.
And what is built in, you can start to utilize, but that's really the extent of my knowledge. I would have to go to Jeff Zilch to know what else they're doing. Like our social studies department, I think utilizes that quite a lot.
Okay.
But I think the
That would
uses
probably
can be endless. But you're right. To make them continue to be almost endless, we would have to be purchasing more software and so forth.
Yeah.
Nothing comes for free, sadly.
No.
Yeah.
No.
No, but it's pretty neat.
Okay.
I would have to say, in 2010, when I became superintendent, I in no way saw us being this, far out with technology and changing what we do, which is really impressive and a tribute to our staff. Because you have to be willing to actually make those changes, and that's not easy.
I volunteered at my son's school. They had this research project, so they used their Chromebooks in the classroom and researched things, but they wanted to get different sources.
Mm-hmm.
So they arranged with the library, and each student had a topic, and then they relayed that to the children's librarian at the public library.
Right.
And she had a cart with sectioned off, so each child had like 2 or 3 books on that topic. So they had different sources.
Right.
And they learned about different sources.
Which
and also,
is so huge. It's
it was
important.
huge.
Yeah.
And they had
that's-
so much fun going through and finding the different facts and learning how to use the table of contents.
Right.
Mm.
And just being able to discern what's a valid source versus what,
Exactly.
we're all used to doing searches, and the first few things come up aren't necessarily
True.
the best source.
Or they're not
Yeah.
true.
Just the one, it could be
It's like,
garbage. but-
it's like, what?
right, and so you have to do some digging and so forth.
Gordon, will they invent? I don't know. Maybe they're used now. But what about? We hear about the testing. The kids are getting tested and so forth and so on.
So-
Are these a tool that's used?
So these can all be used for the state assessment,
Mm-hmm.
and we were talking earlier about another software assessment package, which I think is going to be really great, and I was really happy to hear how well it's being used in your class as well as in Springfield, because we hadn't achieved something, a software package that was flexible enough where we could do something that's quicker hitting, because you don't necessarily want to over assess and over test, and I think sadly we got to a point over the last, say, 4 years where we were probably doing that. You know, everything was this massive sort of benchmark, but this product's going to allow us to be a little bit more creative. You can do formative assessment where you're really just checking for understanding and see where students are. It's quicker hitting. You can focus in on certain specific standards, so you can align it, the work you're doing, to the state standards and frameworks, which is really neat, because that's something that we were doing more laboriously with other software we've used. So I'm excited about that, because it'll be quicker hitting. It should be a little bit more engaging, and something that we had never seen, and I was just talking about it with you before the meeting, you can personalize it. So, you know, what challenges Gordon Smith had on this last assessment, the teacher can look at that and say, okay, you know, maybe you should look at these lessons just in terms of review. There's both a pathway that the teacher can assign, and then there's also a student pathway that a student can continue to do independent work, which is pretty neat.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm excited to see how we work with that.
So if I had a student in 4th grade right now who's on a 2nd grade math level, they'll give them 2nd grade lessons and build up through 3rd and then up until 4th.
So they keep reinforcing the foundation.
Exactly, but
you
it
can't
also
build until the foundation is
exactly, and it also provides enrichment for the students who are at a higher level who need that challenge.
Right.
So I was telling Gordon, I had students at the end of 4th grade who were on a 6th grade level, because it kept on pushing them forward.
Yeah, which is huge.
That is.
That's something we've
great.
never been able to do well. Where
It's always been a
right.
balancing
You're
act
kind of
between
like teaching to the
gifted and
middle almost,
challenged.
because, and then you say, okay, well, I have to certainly make sure I'm connecting with students who are struggling, and then your students who need more challenge
And that helps out
are
the
sort of
late
left
bloomers
out
a
there
lot.
by themselves. And, you know, that's, I don't think the intent was ever to have them become bored and you know, disengage, but unfortunately I think sometimes that happened. And so if this gives us an opportunity to engage in different ways, because then the other line of thinking, this was quite a few years ago, was, oh, we should just give you more.
Right.
Because you're accomplishing it, here's your reward. You know, do more.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so that's not necessarily going to engage and motivate either.
And also, is the teacher able to put homework assignments right in here? So the parent would know what it is and the child
certainly
would know?
could do, if the through Google Classroom, they can do all their assignments that way.
For the kids who can't seem to get the paper from here to home.
This solves that.
That would solve that.
And so
So
a
this
parent
helps
at
keep them
home
organized
can say, hey,
better, too.
you know, why don't you log in, let's check out Mr. Smith's class. What did he actually assign today?
Right.
You know,
Right.
And
you
did
say
get
you
it
have
right?
no homework, but is that
I
true?
know. That's
You
what,
know?
that's what mine.
Hey, reading is not exactly no homework.
Yeah, right.
I taught English.
Oh, there you
So I usually, that was something I said a lot of. I was like, okay, let's review. If I've given you reading, and then you go home and you talk to your parent and you say, I have no homework. I said, is that really the case? And so, anyway. But that does solve that.
Do they also put books on there so they could read the book on there?
You can.
Yeah, my
you know, there's,
daughter has a book,
There's
I know,
some,
in
there's some
English.
software on
Yep.
here that
Her English
IT
book.
populated for us that you know,
really?
you can have books read aloud. There's some software around
But my daughter
helping
wants the book
students
still.
with math.
Oh, yeah.
She still wants the book.
Because that's another big thing. It's not easy to adjust, say, taking a math assessment when you're used to doing it with pencil and paper,
Right.
and then start doing it on this.
On that,
And so there's some software to help with that too.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
And
This is really
we're-
exciting.
It is exciting because we're not experts by any means.
No.
You know, we're
You
learning
keep
along
learning.
with them, and we have to. You know, our goal this year is to provide as much training and support as we possibly can, so that people keep being pioneers and say, "Oh, yeah, I should try this now, or I should try that."
And are most of your teachers pretty on board and excited about it?
I think so. I think the excitement, it can be overwhelming at times.
Yeah,
Because
it's a lot
there's
to
a
learn.
lot of stuff that we're throwing at them, and so what I'm trying to do, and I'm hoping that the message is carrying forward, is that this year is about support. And so a lot of our goals, when you get to the action steps, I didn't have them up here, but when I had the slide on the goals, each goal then broke into action steps. It's more about the professional development we can bring. And so, all right, how do we measure, that we've been successful in that? Well, that's going to come through, surveys that we provide to the teachers after they've had their professional development. And we'll get some, so what did you utilize this year? We'll get some of that as measurements as well. But I'm hoping we don't go in and sort of kill the momentum and the excitement by saying everybody's got to do this one thing.
Right.
I think iReady's gonna, because it is one thing, but there's a lot of things in it.
But it's only 45 minutes a week.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. So,
Yeah.
so there are a couple one things that are out there, but I'm trying to
Minimize it.
work the message in a very engaging, inclusive way. Yes, so that not everybody's going,
Not another
another
thing.
thing.
Yeah, something new.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
But this seems
real.
to be to have a lot of tools that would help an individual classroom teacher
Absolutely.
say, be able to provide what each individual child needs.
Right. I think it's the software, and if we can learn it and continue to get better at it, we'll be able to do some really incredible things in supporting students.
Even the communication between teachers and students. I'll have students email me at night about their homework if they have a question. So it's them contacting me now and not their
So
parents.
now you're on 24 hours.
Yes.
There's a drawback.
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah.
And you do answer your emails and
Oh, yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, if they send me a message, I know that they're working at home, so I have no problem helping them. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Boy,
Do you
that's
set parameters? I'll answer email.
No one's ever
up
crossed
till-
the line yet,
up
so.
till 8 o'clock or up till 9.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's what we have to think about, but it's really neat. I mean, that's a great way to look at it. If they're reaching out, they're
Reach back.
actually doing work,
Right.
which is pretty cool.
That's what you're trying to get them
Yeah.
to do.
And I
And
think
sometimes
our
in
students,
a community, in the classroom, some kids aren't gonna raise their hand.
right,
But-
but they
so
may do it
this
this
is-
way.
So
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
a great option for the
Right.
kid that doesn't want the rest of the classroom to know they didn't get it,
Right.
or,
Yeah,
and
it's-
so forth.
it's-
Yeah, they're not gonna raise their hand and say, hey, I don't get that.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
They're not gonna do that, but they might this way.
Yeah, I think it's
It
great.
takes a decent amount of courage to do that.
Mhm.
I still don't have it.
Oh, I'm with you.
Working on it.
I have one question.
Sure.
I know they're great tools, the computers, but in my background with construction and things like that, and architecture and engineering, you still have to use your hands.
Yes.
And I know it's not a trade school, but do you teach or show the kids any of the possibilities in the trades?
So
'Cause-
I think where our makerspace and some of the
Right.
stuff we're doing with 3D printing and robotics,
Right.
we're getting back to that.
Yeah.
And I think we're Maple Shade has really taken off with it. I think pockets at Mountain View have taken off with it, and it's
Right.
now spread to Meadowbrook. And so they are engaging and using
'Cause-
their hands.
Yeah, because the electricians in Massachusetts, the average age is 64.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't even get one.
So it's like,
And so then the
so
other piece.
nobody, it's gonna be like, the trades are gonna be the people, well,
Right. No, and it's come full circle.
it's,
You're absolutely
it's like
right,
almost
because-
it's almost like the blue collar and white collars flipping.
Correct.
It's
Yeah.
weird.
It's actually,
strange.
and
It's true.
my hope is that we can do a better job. We belong to the Lower Pioneer Valley Educational Collaborative.
Right.
So we're doing certain things in district, but when they get to high school, they can do half-day vocational
Right.
programs over at Career Tech.
Right.
And everything you just said, the LPVC has been telling us for the last 3 years.
Right.
And they have some pretty robust programs where
sure.
students can walk out
Right.
and decide to either go on to school
Right.
or start a job.
Or even go to school and then go to the trades after. My
Right.
son
Yeah.
graduated and he's in DC now, and he's still thinking, well, maybe I'll go. You know, you could
Right.
own a business too.
Absolutely. And
So,
it's we really have to, I think, do a better job marketing it and stop looking at it. Oh, well, you know, I think for the longest time there was this idea of, okay, because I'm not excelling or engaged in sort of just the academic classes,
right.
that, you know,
Yep.
that's just a
You just
place
get
where,
pushed
yeah,
off.
we're just going to move. But that's not the case. The work they're doing in these shops is pretty incredible, and you're utilizing
Right.
math,
Oh, yeah.
design, engineering, all of the
Right.
above. They have a machining program
Yeah.
at the LPVC. That's,
Yeah, no,
that's
I know.
top-notch.
That's another thing, machining. I
Right.
know the CNC machines.
It's
and-
unbelievable.
Yeah,
And so,
no.
I've been trying to get our students more engaged in
No,
that.
I'm just seeing
because it
my
gives them
daughter's
so
in
many opportunities.
engineering, and you know, she's got good possibilities for my job. My
Right.
son's in Washington working for free for the Senate now. What good is that?
Or free.
And it's
He's serving his country in a way.
yeah, right. I guess I don't know.
But my
And-
husband and I went to Long Meadow High School, and it was, what their goal was to have 100% kids go to college.
Right.
Yeah.
That is so
It's a hard, you know, and I've been there too. I think
and
over
a lot of
time,
the standards are set that way.
yeah,
by
I've,
how
I've
many
sort
go
of
in.
broadened my viewpoint that, you know, getting back to personalized learning, you have to look at what's right for each child.
Right.
And so the more avenues we can give,
Mhm.
I think the better we are as a system.
Exactly.
And so,
Yeah.
yeah, so we have some work to do there, because I think we underutilize the LPVC.
Yeah.
And if we continue to do that, the LPVC is going to struggle, and they're not going to be able to run all these programs. And I'm sure that we have students that haven't taken the leap to
Right.
go over and check out these shops and figure out what
Because
they
like
want.
there's union workers who go into whatever carpentry, if
Right.
you're a trade union worker on the job sites, one that goes through the trade system that has been in it 4 years, once they have a job, they're making 6 figures
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah,
with no
It's-
loan.
right. It's incredible.
So I'm not saying it's nothing, but
Right. It's,
there are
no,
possibilities.
the possibilities are huge, and the benefits can be huge.
and they still use computers. Don't get me wrong. I'm
Right.
not saying it's all a tool,
Right.
but
It's just
it's
utilizing
using it differently,
Right.
and all the drawings are done on CAD now, and so you have that. But it's different, and but the workers, they're running out. There's nobody's going to do them. They're going to have to ship them in.
And I don't think that urgency has really taken hold in, you know, sort of K-12 education. We
Right.
have to be thinking about that.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, the vocational schools know it.
Right.
LPVC knows it, and other
Because I know the
collaboratives
bigger
that offer
jobs, like
vocational training.
for masonry and those, they bring them over. They're from Europe.
Right.
They
Yeah.
actually bus them to the job. They'll bring,
Wow.
you know, 50, 75 guys and they're,
Right,
you know, they don't speak English, but they're getting paid
right,
$60 an hour,
yeah.
which,
I may have to take a real career path.
I could plaster.
no,
So,
but
no,
it's just something
it's,
that,
it's just other
it's just
other
another
skills
avenue,
and
that's
other
all.
avenues, and I
Right.
agree with you. I think
Okay.
that's so that's actually something that I need to continue to engage the LPVC, but also
Right.
engage our guidance department.
Yeah, no,
And
it's
we have to look
surprising.
at sort of how we do that, because we've always done it so that students can finish off their graduation requirements, where, you know, you go over a 10th grade year.
Right,
But I know that the LPVC would love to have students in their 9th grade year, and so are there ways to do that,
right,
you know, even on a half-year basis, where you have the first half of your year where you're staying at the high school and you're getting a certain amount of academic work accomplished, and then the second half of the year you start your half-day program
Right.
as an exploratory. And so you're just doing it a little bit earlier. but then it gets into the opportunity on the other end where 11th and 12th grade, you might be out in the actual work world with internships,
Right.
which is pretty neat.
Yeah.
So, we kind of got off track there. But
Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
No, I was just saying that.
That's
I
huge.
was just saying
'Cause
the
that's what
tools
this
and
is
they're
about.
great.
Yeah.
And my
It's-
daughter's using it now, and
Right.
it's
This
great.
is a tool
And
and
my
other tools that we can equip students with.
Yeah.
Anything that's going to benefit them
Oh, sure.
is fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
That was
Thank
awesome.
you. That was
so much,
great.
Gordon.
Obviously, you can see I can talk when I get going, so thank you for.
That's great, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll back up. I'll try to be
Well, we
disruptive
could
as
take
I do
a
that.
short recess, maybe 5 minutes. So we'll go back to the approval of the minutes of the September 18th meeting. And so did everybody have an opportunity?
Yes. Yeah.
Did anybody see anything that needed to be edited?
Okay. Great.
I did notice that, for last month's meeting, we did not take a director's report, motion and second. We took it for all the others, and that was the only one that I wasn't missing. We did motion for the, book award, but not for, Layla's, director's report. I looked at that twice, unless I really missed it, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Okay.
So if I may, just so I can keep consistent, if I can make a motion to accept the director's report on the meeting minutes for September 18th, 2019.
I'll second that motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. And so why don't we go back to the minutes of September 18th, right? You've just brought out that we didn't okay the director's report?
Right.
It was only the director's report.
Okay. All right,
Yeah, I got everything else.
okay.
Oh, right, I said, yeah, director's report for the minutes,
Okay. So
right?
we still need to take and vote on the minutes that you prepared for tonight. Do I hear a motion?
Okay, I'd like to make tonight's motion to accept the minutes.
Any
I
second?
would second it.
Okay.
And Cindy.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We had our guest. And now it's our director's report.
Okay, so the first update that I have for everybody is on the town manager search. Town council approved a community profile statement that was created by Community Paradigm Associates that will be used to guide the search for a permanent town manager. The profile statement was approved at their October 8th meeting, and they did state that they would post the statement on the town website shortly. I'm not sure exactly when that will be, but a screening committee composed of East Long Meadow residents is being formed and will make recommendations for interviews to town council. Town council will begin candidate interviews in late November or early December with Mr. Lynch of Community Paradigm Associates facilitating the process. No building maintenance updates at this time. East Long Meadow Public Schools are embarking on a new technology initiative known as One-to-One. I won't review that here, but as noted in the library's strategic plan for library services, we work to support the curriculum of area schools with up-to-date technology and software. So in support of the One-to-One program, we are expanding the library's hotspot lending program. The hotspots provide internet access anywhere in the continental United States for up to 5 digital devices at a time. The library will have 6 additional hotspots available for lending on a first-come, first-served basis for East Long Meadow residents in order to facilitate internet connection for students that may not have internet at home or other instances when they might need internet access. So I brought one of the hotspots with me. That brings our total. We still have 3 that are available for anyone with a CW Mars library card in good standing. These are the 6 new hotspots, and so you have to be an East Long Meadow resident to borrow these. And the thinking on that was that trying to balance the needs of East Long Meadow students who might not have internet access at home with how can we continue to share all of our resources, because that's what we do. So you can take a look if you want. It has the guidelines right on the front. The person borrowing the hotspot doesn't need to be 18 or older, but that, the student can just send one of their adults at home, hopefully, to borrow one of the hotspots. And so inside in the front, you have little contents of the case. It gives you your instructions for how to connect. It shows you, it has a power cord, an adapter so you can charge it, and then this is the hotspot itself. Looks about the size of a credit card like this. And so I'll just pass this around so everybody can take a look at it. And I'll just continue while people are looking at that. You push the black button, Cindy.
Okay.
It's like magic.
Oh.
You just seem to just go like that.
So we're gonna
Does it have how to open it? No.
we're gonna gauge demand and see if the hotspots are continuously checked out, and if it seems like they're helping support the Chromebooks use at home and elsewhere, we'll look into expanding the program. And so also under public services, East Long Meadow Public Library was voted the best family-friendly library in the greater Springfield area by readers of Macaroni Kids. Macaroni Kids is a website dedicated to family-friendly activities. We received what's known as a Golden Daisy Award. And I did include a link to the award so that you could read about it.
Yeah. I did.
Also, the Children's Department, in keeping with supporting with the schools and working on our partnership there, for the first time, we had a table at one of the school's open houses, September 24th and September 25th. Michelle Lemire, our children's librarian, was welcomed by the principal and staff and distributed information on registering for a library card, library services and collections for students, and other library programs. We are hoping to expand our presence at the local elementary school open houses next fall. On Tuesday, October 8th, the library hosted an employment event in support of Census 2020 preparations. Attendees learned how they can earn extra income as census takers in East Long Meadow. Children's staff participated in a portion of the anniversary event for the town on October 12th, held at Center Field. Again, Michelle Lemire, our children's librarian, she distributed program information and entertained children with glitter tattoos. And I did include a recommendation for a policy review once the library trustee bylaws are finished. This might be a policy that the policy committee would want to take a look at. That's my report for this month.
Lila, do we need to incorporate the borrowing of a hotspot?
Nope,
Are we all
nope,
set?
that's
Are we-
all.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's already
We're all
done.
It's all
set?
done.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, they work good. I've taken them out before.
Great.
On cars on long trips, they work good.
That's
If you're
excellent.
going somewhere, they work good.
Does it work at the Cape?
Oh, yeah. It worked at the Cape. Yeah, it works good.
So that we don't forget again,
Yeah,
shall we accept the
Can I-
director's
I
report?
make a motion to accept the director's report of October 16th, 2019.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. All right. Now, the next item on the agenda is the advocacy checklist.
Yeah, so I thought this would be something helpful for all of the trustees, and it's just a listing of different ways that trustees can participate as advocates. And it doesn't have to be, not every task has to be write a letter to President Donald Trump or, something very serious, and some of those tasks are very important, but you can also do something like just attend a program or visit another area library and take note of what you like or may not like about their collections and services. Attend a town council meeting and share what you learned at a library trustee meeting. Attend a workshop covering open meeting laws and regulations. And in fact, tomorrow, and I did send everybody an email, but just as a reminder, tomorrow at 5:30 at the Council on Aging, from 5:30 to 7:30, there's an open meeting law workshop being hosted by the Commonwealth. So if anybody can attend, that would be fantastic. All board and commission members in town are being encouraged to attend. I know we get a lot of requests for local trainings, and the COA is very local. I think they're, 2 blocks up from now. They're a little bit farther, but so these are just examples of ways that people can participate as advocates. And then I also wanted to include and make sure that everybody had copies of, this is the same version of Robert's Rules of Order that started being sent out to everyone when they were appointed. I wanted to make sure everybody has a copy of this. And then also the Golden Rules for Board Members, which is from the Board of Library Commissioners Handbook. It just is a nice condensed version of what can be expected at meetings. So if anybody had anything they wanted to add to the checklist, that would be great. Just jot it down and bring it with you for the next meeting, and we can add it on there. Did anybody have any comments about that?
Where is the meeting tomorrow?
It's at the Council on Aging, which is on Main Street. So when you, if you would go out here and turn left by the Starbucks and head, is that north that way?
You go towards Springfield.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. You'll see it
On the left.
on the left. I'm trying to remember, is it right before you get to Heritage Park or right after?
Oh, okay.
Just before.
Right before.
Before.
I know exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Before the light.
Before.
Yep.
Yeah, before the light on the left.
And I had a quick question about the checklist.
Mhm.
The second one, visit a local library and take note of their collections, programs, and other offerings. So if we were to do that and we saw something, what would we do? Go to you and let you know what we,
Bring it to a meeting.
okay.
Yeah, just
Do we have to
bring,
put something like that on the agenda? No, right?
well, we have trustee updates on there.
Okay, so that's what it
So
would be.
people can, every trustee is welcome during the trustee updates section to just bring it to a meeting, discuss the idea. I think it would be, it's a great way to just keep up and not be too, I'm not assigning everybody articles to read or something like that. You can keep up with what other libraries are doing.
And would that also pertain to other libraries' websites? Because
Maybe because
I've been looking at different.
So the website, I have
just because
professional
I'm
training.
in a position right now.
Okay.
Just to throw that out there.
I just want to be very clear that the website is all designed with user experience in mind. And user
Okay.
experience is a very technical, I have professional training in web design. That was part of my master's in library and information science. So I take the website very seriously. That can be sometimes our first window into what people who are interested in the library are looking for. And so some things that other libraries have on their website may or may not be using user experience principles. Depending on if their library is small, they might just have a blog that has just random things thrown on there. We wouldn't be doing that with our website because I design it according to principles that have been researched.
Okay.
Um,
But if we saw something, it would be okay to let you know what we saw?
give me an example. It's more in depth than you might be thinking.
And that's what, okay. So what I saw in doing a lot of research for other libraries, I do not remember which library it is. It is in my pile of notes in here somewhere. I'd have to look for it. But there was a library that had a really neat link to how libraries are borrowing other materials other than books or DVDs or CDs or what have you. So on this particular library website, it had a bunch of, you clicked on the link for borrowing other things that you can borrow from a library, and it had all these pictures of different objects. So it was a picture of the telescope, it was the picture of the launch pad, and just different.
It's you again.
I turned it on.
That would be something that we would promote on our Facebook page.
Okay.
We wouldn't necessarily build that as a separate page within the site,
Okay.
because if you want to think about it from the perspective of the information seeking
Okay.
user. That would be a great thing to promote on the library's Instagram,
Okay.
Facebook, or Twitter. Though
So
we would
still throw it out at you
we would
and
still use an
whatever.
electronic way to promote it. We just wouldn't necessarily put it on our website.
Okay. So still share ideas.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Who does the
Thank you.
Instagram and
Erica Petrosky is in charge of Instagram. Maura and Michelle both kind of trade off with Facebook, and the same with Twitter.
okay. Now all I need is to get the accounts. Okay.
Okay, so if anybody has anything they want to add to the checklist, just please bring it to the next meeting and I can update it, and maybe someone will attend the open meeting law training tomorrow, and then they could share with us what they learned. Just an idea.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Now, the next item on the agenda is our bylaws. But before we begin, I have to tell you what has happened between a month ago and today. And what happens is we're a governmental body of the town, and it is our duty to conduct our meeting according to proper parliamentary procedures. It was brought to my attention that at last month's meeting, when it came to reviewing the first draft of amending our bylaws, we did not follow protocol. I overlooked our own current bylaws and was not aware of the Roberts Rules of Order when it came to subcommittee reporting to the board. Per Roberts Rules of Order, on the book I have, 553, it says, in presenting the report of the bylaws committee to the assembly, the committee chairman would explain each section, and in the case of a proposed revision of laws, make clear what is new about each provision or how it differs from the corresponding provision of the existing bylaws. Our current bylaw, Article 5, Committee, Section 1, the committee shall be considered to be discharged upon the completion of the purpose for which it was appointed and after the final report is made to the board. In other words, it was my responsibility to give the chairman of the bylaw committee the floor and to go through the entire document article by article with time allotted for discussion by all and possible edits, and it was the committee, the bylaw committee's responsibility to return to the board with the second draft. I thank the library director because, we didn't know most of this, how to go through all this and the charter and so forth. So we certainly needed her input in there, but this is kind of one of those cases where I feel that our positions get intertwined, So during the past month, I've been doing a lot of reading on the town's general bylaws, the Home Rule Charter, the Massachusetts Open Meeting Laws, and Robert's Rules of Order. All of these items are connected. So according to Robert's Rules of Order, the composition of bylaws is somewhat different from ordinary expository writing. in that it places greater demand on tight clarity and precision in word choice, sentence structure, and punctuation. In bylaws, as in legal documents of any kind, every punctuation mark may have an important effect, and what is omitted may carry as much significance as what is included. It goes on to say, it is much better to take a good deal of time in consideration of bylaws before their adoption than to find an early need for extensive amendment. We're not going to rush through this process. To me, it's very important. Since we have voluntarily taken it upon ourselves to update our bylaws, there is no specific deadline that we must meet. The bylaws are, in effect, a contract among its members and may be formally adopted and or amended. It is a legal document that is the framework, rules, and regulations covering the meetings and operations of the board. Per Robert's Rules of Order, if the unit for which the bylaws are to be drawn up is subject to a superior body, in our case the town council, the bylaws of the governing at the higher level should be studied for provisions which are binding upon the subordinate units in a way that must be taken into account. The bylaws of the subordinate unit need to conform to those of a superior body only on requisite points. It was confirmed by the town manager's office that our bylaws are to align with the home rule charter and the town's general bylaws as close as possible. The current approved town's general bylaws are those on the town's website. Therefore, we must work with what is enforced today. Also, there is a process regarding the acceptance or rejection of amending bylaws that I'd like to share. And this came from page 7, the Home Rule Charter. Any bylaw which amends or repeals a portion of any town bylaw shall set out in full the portion to be so amended or repealed by the use of strikeout type, brackets, or underscoring. It will be reviewed by the town council's bylaws subcommittee prior to it being returned to the town council for vote. Prior to final passage, each introduced bylaw shall be read at 2 separate council meetings. The affirmative vote of a majority of the full council membership, except as otherwise provided by the general laws of this charter, shall be necessary for the final passage of any bylaw. All votes on regular or emergency bylaws shall be taken by roll call and shall be recorded in the minutes. So these were a couple of things that we weren't aware of when Melanie and Michael were working on it. So due to these revelations, I recommend that we postpone any discussion or decisions until next month to allow additional time for the bylaw subcommittee to create a document in the manner acceptable to the town based on the rules of the town's charter. In other words, put the strikes through and so forth into it. So what they want is the old version, whatever we're taking out of it, they want to see out of it. Whatever's remaining, they want to see remain. And anything we add to it, they want to see the addition. And they want it on, like, we'll say one piece of paper, because they're not going to go through the bylaw. They're not going to go through and say, okay, here's the old. And they're not going to do that. They want the strikeouts right there.
May I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Do they want the 2015 version or do they want the 2017 version of the bylaws?
Well, I thought we were working off of the 2017.
That's the version that we're working off of.
Yes.
But that would not have been, the process wasn't followed for that set. That was simply the town manager looked at the 2017 version.
Okay.
So that's why I'm asking if town council wants the 2015 version as opposed to the 2017 version.
Well, what happened, Layla, is that I thought that they always say the approved bylaws, and I just assumed these were approved bylaws. Are the 2015 bylaws
Those would have been the ones
the
that
most
were-
recent?
Those would have been the
Approved?
ones that were in effect before the change in town government.
Yeah.
The change in town government happened.
Right.
This board voluntarily started revising their bylaws
Right.
in 2017.
Yep.
It was approved by the board as a whole. The town manager reviewed it, said, no, several of these things are not in line with the charter, sent it back,
Right.
had to be approved again.
Okay.
So that's why I'm asking for clarification for the committee and
Right.
for me.
Right.
Does town council, does the bylaw subcommittee then want to see the 2015 version or the 2017 version?
Okay.
Because that's
Well-
going to determine the work that the committee needs to do.
Yes. Yes. So the question here is what's the latest bylaws from here that were approved previously? So you're saying 2015. Or is
I
this
don't know.
2000?
I don't know if the bylaw subcommittee is going to want to see the 2015 version or the 2017 version.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Well, I guess the best thing I can do, or, is to find out what, just everybody hold tight.
We also have an acting town manager right now and
Yep.
not an actual town manager.
Yep, yep.
So I'm just trying to work
No,
through what
I-
the possible
No,
timeline
no,
would
thank you.
be.
Yeah.
Whether it needs to be something that we look at after the first of the year, because then we'll have maybe a permanent town manager. I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
just
no.
asking questions
Yeah,
about
no,
the
good.
process.
Those are good questions.
And
on-
is does the town manager have the final say on this, or the town council has the final say?
It's the town council. It's the
So-
town council. Once,
So this
my,
has to be
my
sent to the town
understanding
council.
is.
That's
that-
different information from it. Again, we'll just have to find out.
Yeah. Let's
Because this was
find,
different information I
Yeah,
got from
because
the
you said the
actual
town manager.
permanent town manager
Right.
when we did this in 2017.
That's right, that's why.
We now have a different person in charge
Okay.
who has different rules that she or he has to follow.
okay,
So that's why I'm wondering if we need to look at this after we have a permanent town manager, because that's gonna be the individual who really decides.
Or is it the town council that will decide?
As of right now, everything that goes to the acting town manager has to go to town council anyway.
Yeah, I know, but
So,
even after,
yeah.
even
But
after
after
we have
that,
the
I don't know.
official town
Yeah.
manager,
Yeah.
that, we need to know that as well.
Right, and that's one of my questions, yeah.
great.
So when,
Great, I mean, what happens is we need a firm answer
On
as to
how we
what.
proceed with this.
Yeah. And I didn't even think of that, Layla. Let's
Well,
just-
and then again, like because section 6 is really referring to town bylaws. And as you read, any proposed bylaw has to follow this procedure.
yeah.
I don't know that it gets into the nitty gritty of board and commission bylaws. And that was what Denise, the previous town manager, said, okay, this is under my authority because she appoints the boards and commissions. And so went ahead, reviewed the bylaws at that time,
Yeah.
made her recommendations, etc.
Right.
That may or may not be the case after we have a new town manager. We don't know yet.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not sure.
So shall we say postpone until further notice and until we get information, because it's a shame to be working.
Yeah.
And I know
And
the
the
hours,
work.
I know the hours
That
that
she put into
she's
this.
put into
a
it.
lot.
I know.
And,
I know it
and the
is.
research and so forth that she's gone into it. And
And you have to know who's
Um,
going to approve this, you know,
and
in
I-
the edits.
I'd also like to see the August 2015. Can you send that to me?
Yeah,
okay.
Is it anywhere? Is
I
it?
have it with
Um,
me.
That's okay. I don't want to. I
Which,
don't want to get that.
you want
behind
the 2015 bylaws, is what you're
Yes.
thinking.
So that would have been before
then I
the
can-
town council, the
That was
2015.
the previous vote of
Yeah,
government.
yeah.
I'll just email it to you, that'll be easier, Melanie.
Thank you
Oh.
very much.
Sure.
I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yes, thank you so much.
Oh, sure.
Because I'm also curious how much they changed from 2015.
Does everyone want them?
to-
I'll just send them to everybody.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
That'll be good just to see the wording
Yeah,
Right.
from
yeah.
15 to 17.
17.
See what changed, and then figure out how much that would affect.
Our bylaws.
Correct.
Okay.
All right. Well, I just thought I was telling you about, I'm just trying to want this to be
Done right.
done right.
Yeah.
And, you know, I got my little Robert's Rules book out, and then I saw on the page in the charter saying, well, and it's like, whoa, and I just did not know. I did not know. I was asking for a postponement so that she could like retype it with the
Oh, with the strikeouts.
strikeouts, so
Well,
everybody
that-
could see the.
That project I've already started.
Okay.
It's probably about 80% done, but not done because we
Okay.
haven't discussed it, and we haven't, of course, voted
Okay.
upon, what everybody thinks about, but that will be good for me to have to take a look at that. Okay.
All right. So, I guess we need to take a vote to see whether or not to postpone.
I'll make a motion that we postpone the matter of the bylaws until we get further clarification as to what body needs to approve them and work in conjunction with.
Yeah,
And until such time, then we can take the matter up
yeah,
when we have more information.
yeah, yeah. Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll set,
Okay, go ahead,
I'll second
David. Okay, so
Okay,
it's
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No, I think that's the right way to go. I think it's, you know,
Okay.
Library Friends News. I don't have anything for you at this time, except I believe that they have a little fundraiser going for a couple weeks, and that's all I know. I have been invited to go to their next meeting in November, and and they can update me so I can update you.
Okay.
You know, I kind of keep an eye on their, well, because I'm a member, I get they send out, they send out newsletters
Yeah.
3 times a year, so that's what I can go by at this point in time. And let me see if I'm always bringing stuff, and then I say to myself, did I do that? There was the cutest article in the newspaper. I hope I didn't leave it at home. Well, I'm not gonna make you wait for me to go digging. But it was a really lovely article about this young girl who wanted to do free books.
Her name's Katie,
Yes.
and her mother is Jane,
Mm-hmm.
and they've been coming in since she was a baby.
Yep.
And the saddest thing happened. Jane's husband Eric passed away, and Katie wanted to do this in memory of her father, and they were great library supporters. And Michelle, our children's librarian, and her husband came forward, and her husband Mark actually built the little
Little free library is what they're called.
A free library. And it was funny because I saw Jane and Katie at church, and I hadn't seen them for a little while, and she was so proud. She wants to be a librarian. And so they're having some guest readers, and they asked if I would be a guest reader.
Oh, how nice.
So I said, of course, just any time you can, just call. And it was such a nice gesture, and they're getting books donated for her free, what's it called?
A little free library.
Little free
Yes.
library.
Yeah. So it was a great way to remember her father.
It was a great article.
It was a
too.
really
and
good article.
I apologize. I thought I packed it in with all the other stuff.
And I hope I got it kind of right, but
Yeah.
that was about the gist of what I remembered from it.
Yeah.
And it had the Michelle and her husband and Katie and her mother's a picture.
Oh, I'm sad. But yeah, and it's just wonderful.
It was.
That it was initiated, by this young person, and to see
She's in
everybody,
fifth grade.
yeah, and to have a support. When it comes to this library and the people that work here, outstanding. They did that on their own time to help a dream come true. So that was very nice. But I do not have anything else. Does anybody around the table, do you have anything that you'd like to share?
I have, when we were speaking about the bylaws, I had a quick trustee update. If anybody, I know that we decided to postpone it. However, is it okay if I kind of go back a little bit and just read a little bit from an update, or do you want me to go through this at the next meeting?
No, go ahead.
Because basically all I wanted to say, is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah.
Basically, all I wanted to say is that Michael and I will be meeting this Friday at 9 a.m. To discuss more of the of some research that we have been doing. It, like we were talking about, it is a lot. We have to work with the town charter, which Layla is very correct that we do have to follow the wording, and that's definite, and the bylaws and everything. And as far as I'm concerned, the trustees do need to just get all our ducks in a row as far as who we report to, and that's important to me.
It's very important.
To get answers with that, and hopefully the town charter, town bylaws, the information that we're getting from town council, and of course, as Layla said, the acting town manager, and they're still in the search committee for a permanent town manager. So with that being said, Michael and I, we are working hard on it, and so I just wanted to say that we're gonna meet this Friday, and I know he's gonna be back from his vacation, and we'll be able to discuss more and get in depth. One thing that I did want to add in there, and I saw from as I was telling you earlier, that I was checking out different libraries' websites, and on their bylaws, there was a little addition in certain libraries, how they added a certain section, just listing off, for example, the agenda items. So, it would say, meeting call to order, trustee update, adjournment, just like that, like a little
Like
synopsis.
an example.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I think that's important, because don't forget, the bylaws are, you know, for us today as trustees, and going forward, they're for trustees who will be here sitting at this table in our, you know, and walking in our footsteps in the future. And I think that's important to me and Michael, on the subcommittee. And, you know, as always, as you know, we figure things out going through this process, and, you know, we're here for you, and obviously you're here
I
for
just
us, and
have
we
to
can
say
bounce
thank
questions
you
off
for
each other.
the tremendous
It is
job
a
you've
lot
done.
of work.
Appreciate it.
It is.
It is
and
a
it's-
lot of work.
Thank you very much for being patient.
Yeah.
In a couple of years, you can be the next one. But yeah, it's definitely a lot of work. So that's what I'd like to say.
Well,
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. If nobody else has anything to share at this time, then our next meeting will be Wednesday, November 20th, 2019 at 6 p.m. And I would like a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
And I'll second that.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.